rejected at every door. The twin suns of planet Virex 9 burned the dusty streets below. Alien shops buzzed with machines, markets shouted with noise, and strange creatures moved quickly through narrow alleys. But one figure walked slowly, tired, desperate. Her name was Lyra. She was a thin alien woman with pale blue skin and long silver hair tied in a rough braid. Her clothes were old and patched, and her hands were rough from work. In her arms, she carried her small son, Yell, whose head rested weakly on her shoulder. His skin was warm, too warm. He was sick again. They hadn't eaten in 2 days. Lyra knocked on the heavy door of a bakery. A green-skinned alien opened it, looked at her face, and sneered. "You again?" He spat. "No jobs for your kind. Get lost." "I'll clean. I'll work for food," she whispered. He slammed the door. Lyra moved to the next shop. It sold spare machine parts. She knocked. A tall, insect-like alien peeked through the window and shook his head. "Single mother? Sick child? That's bad business. Go beg somewhere else." Every door was the same. No one wanted her. No one wanted to hire a single alien mother with no papers, no home, and no support. She had no mate. Her species had a bad reputation in this city. Everyone assumed she was lazy, weak, or dangerous, but all she wanted was a chance to live. By evening, Lyra sat on the cold ground near the repair district. Her son coughed in his sleep. She wrapped him in her scarf, even though she was freezing, too. "I'm sorry," she whispered, pressing her head against his. A shadow moved. Someone was watching her from across the alley. A man, tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a long, dusty coat, stepped closer. His face was mostly hidden under a metal helmet with glowing blue lenses. He didn't speak. Lyra stood up quickly, holding her son tight. "Please, we don't want trouble." The man didn't reply. He looked at her child, then at her. Slowly, he reached into his coat. She took a step back, afraid he was pulling out a weapon. But instead, he pulled out bread. Warm, fresh bread. He held it out without a word. Lyra stared at him. "Why?" Still no answer. She took the bread and gave the first bite to her son. Tears filled her eyes. "Do you need work?" the man finally asked in a low, calm voice. Lyra looked up. "Yes, any kind." "Follow me," he said and turned around. She hesitated for a second. Was this a trap? A trick? But what choice did she have? She picked up her son and followed. They walked past metal shops and broken signs into a quieter area of the city. The man stopped at a large old building made of rusted steel. A sign above the door read, "Juno's Repairs." He opened the heavy door and stepped inside. The inside was filled with machines, some broken, some glowing with soft energy. Sparks flew as small drones moved across the ceiling. The air smelled of oil, wires, and heat. Lyra had never seen such a place. The man removed his helmet. He was human. Brown skin, short dark hair, a scar across his left eyebrow. His face looked calm, but his eyes were sharp, watchful. "I'm Juno," he said. "I'm Lyra. And this is my son." He nodded once. "He can rest over there." He pointed to a quiet corner with an old couch. "You work. I'll feed him." She slowly laid her son down, her eyes never leaving Juno. He handed her a pair of gloves. "These machines need fixing. You listen, you learn. I pay you daily." "But I have no skills," she said quietly. "You'll learn," he replied. "No judgment, no insult, just work." That night, Lyra worked silently beside him. She handed him tools, cleaned wires, and listened carefully to every word he said. She felt tired, hungry, and nervous. But for the first time, she also felt hope. When her son coughed again, Juno quietly handed her a bottle of warm medicine. She looked at him with wide eyes. "Why are you helping us?" He didn't answer at first. Then he simply said, "Because no one helped me once." And I survived. Outside the workshop, unknown to them, a group of angry alien workers gathered in the dark alley. They didn't like what they saw. A human giving work to a worthless alien mother, they whispered. She's making us look bad. We'll make sure she doesn't last long. The next morning on Virex 9, cold rain poured from black clouds. Thin lines of steam rose from the heated city streets. Shops opened, machines roared back to life, and gossip spread like fire. Did you hear? That alien girl, Lyra, is working for the human. Disgusting. Why would a human take in trash? But inside Juno's workshop, the noise of the outside world didn't matter. Lyra stood awkwardly in the middle of the workshop, holding a toolbox too heavy for her thin arms. Her silver hair was tied back. Oil smudged her cheek. Her long tail twitched nervously. Her son Yell slept under a blanket in the far corner, surrounded by the warm hum of machines. Juno was already working, his hands moving fast over an open fusion panel. Sparks popped in the air. He didn't look at her. "Bring me the blue cable," he said. She hurried to the tool shelf, eyes scanning colors. There were 5 blue ones. "Which?" "Striped," he said without turning. "Red, stripe." She brought it. He connected it without a word. "Why are your hands shaking?" he asked quietly. Lyra looked down. "I'm not used to being inside, or being treated like this." He finally looked at her. "It's just work. No one's doing you a favor here." His words were cold, but somehow she felt safer here than anywhere else. By mid-morning, a loud knock banged on the metal door. Juno glanced at it and handed Lyra a wrench. "Keep fixing the turbine, follow the diagram, don't stop." He walked to the door and opened it. 3 alien workers stood outside, thick, strong, wearing yellow armor. Their eyes were sharp. Their tone was casual, but their words were sharp. "Hey, Juno," said one. "We heard you got yourself a housemaid." Juno crossed his arms. "She works, I pay. That's the deal." Another alien spat on the ground. "That's not how we do things here. You're giving the wrong kind chances." "Then maybe the system's broken," Juno replied calmly. The third alien's voice turned hard. "Don't act like she's one of us. Don't forget, you're still human. You're not better than us." Juno didn't blink. "Tell that to my machines. They don't care what species touches them, just who fixes them." He shut the door. Lyra was shaking. "I heard everything," she said. "They'll come back." "Yes," Juno said, walking past her. "They will." "You're risking everything. Why?" He stopped, then looked at her and said, "Because you're not broken, just thrown away. Big difference." Lyra looked down. No one had ever said that to her. Ever. The day went on. Lyra followed instructions. She worked hard, hands sore, legs tired, eyes burning. But something inside her began to change. Every time she got a part right, Juno didn't smile. But he gave her more to do. And more responsibility meant he believed she could do it. She liked that feeling. By evening, they had repaired 3 drones, 2 coolant tanks, and a backup generator. Not bad for a team of 2. Just as she was about to rest, a customer arrived. It was an alien noble, a tall female with red skin and golden eyes. She looked around the workshop, her nose wrinkling at the sight of Lyra. "You let that thing touch your work?" she asked Juno, disgusted. "She's better than half the fools in this city," Juno said. The noble snorted. "Your business won't last long if you keep using garbage." Lyra lowered her head, but Juno didn't back down. "Funny. My machines are running just fine." The noble left, throwing a hateful glance at Lyra. That night, Lyra sat beside her sleeping son. She looked around at the glowing machines, the shelves filled with tools, and the quiet hum of the workshop. It wasn't home, but it was the safest place she'd been in years. She whispered to Yell, "Maybe this is the start of something." But outside, in the shadows of the next building, the 3 alien workers returned, watching, whispering. "She's getting too comfortable," one said. "Tomorrow we teach her where she really belongs." They vanished into the dark, leaving behind a broken lock and a silent danger waiting for dawn. The night was silent on Virex 9. Too silent. Inside Juno's workshop, dim lights flickered above and soft beeps came from sleeping machines. Lyra lay curled beside her son, wrapped in a blanket of old cloth. The warmth of humming engines comforted her, but something felt wrong. She sat up. Her long ears twitched. Her tail flicked once. Silence. She got up slowly, stepping barefoot across the metal floor. The air smelled strange, burnt metal and something bitter. Her eyes scanned the room. One of the drone bays was slightly open. She remembered closing it earlier. In the corner, Juno sat at his workbench, eyes glowing under his helmet visor. His hand was steady as he cleaned a tiny power core. "You smell it too," he said calmly without turning. Lyra jumped. "You're awake?" "I don't sleep much." "What's that smell?" "Sabotage," he replied simply. "Acid gas. Someone broke in." Before Lyra could ask more, the lights flickered, then died. Darkness swallowed them. Then came a sharp hissing sound from inside the vents. Juno stood quickly. "Stay with your son. Lock the backroom door." "But now." Lyra grabbed Yell and ran toward the backroom. Just as she reached the door, a loud crash came from the front gate. Someone had forced it open. She locked the backroom and held her son tight. From the thin wall crack, she could barely see shadows, moving in the main room. 3 alien thugs stepped in. One held a pipe. Another had a glowing cutting tool. The third pulled out a small EMP grenade and tossed it toward the central power board. It rolled slowly. Click. 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 Boom. The machines sparked violently. The workshop plunged into chaos. Alarms howled, lights blinked red, and the main generator hissed. Lyra screamed silently, hands over her child's ears. But then, the shadows began to move differently. Juno had arrived. He stepped out of the smoke, calm like a storm ready to explode. His hands held nothing, no weapon, just steel eyes and experience. "You brought the wrong tools," he said. The first alien swung the pipe. Juno ducked, grabbed the pipe mid-air, and twisted it. A bone cracked. The alien screamed. The second one rushed with the cutter. Juno kicked a rolling drone at his leg. It smashed the alien into a wall. The last one tried to run. Too late. Juno flipped a switch near the wall. Metal shutters dropped, instantly trapping the thug inside. From the back room, Lyra watched with wide eyes. She had never seen anyone move like that, not even the city guards. Juno didn't fight like an engineer. He fought like a soldier. The attack ended in minutes. Juno walked to the back room and knocked softly. "It's over." Lyra opened the door slowly, still shaking. "You knew they would. Come, I guessed," he said. "But I didn't know when. They wanted to hurt me. Because of you." Juno looked at her. "No," he replied. "Because they're afraid of someone like you getting a chance." He sat down, pulled out a small knife, and started repairing a broken wire as if nothing happened. Later, as dawn approached, Lyra helped him clean the mess. They replaced burned wires, cleared the broken drone bay, and reset the power system. Her hands were trembling, but her focus stayed sharp. "You said I was hired to work," she said, "not to be protected." Juno paused. "Then work harder," he replied. "So they learn not to mess with you again." She smiled softly for the first time. As the sun rose and the red light spilled across the workshop, Lyra stood taller. Not just because she was still standing after the attack, but because she realized something. This place wasn't just shelter. It was her battlefield now, too. She would fight for it. The morning after the attack was quiet, but not peaceful. Lyra scrubbed, blood from the floor near the generator, her hands raw from cleaning fluid. The machines were running again. The lights worked. The air smelled like oil and metal, but the damage was more than physical. Something had changed. She had seen Juno fight like a warrior, and now, as she watched him check the workshop's security systems, she realized this man wasn't just an engineer. He was something more, something dangerous, and yet he had saved her life. Just as she finished cleaning, A loud voice echoed from the front door. "Open for inspection. This is the Galactic Trade Compliance Authority." Juno didn't even look up. "Took them long enough," he muttered. Lyra froze. Her chest tightened. An inspection? She wasn't registered. No work ID, no citizen permit. If the inspector saw her, they could shut down the shop or worse, arrest her. "I'll hide in the back," she whispered, stepping away. But Juno said firmly, "No, stay." "Why?" "I'm illegal." "You're my assistant," he replied without emotion. "And they won't arrest my assistant." The door opened. A tall, icy blue alien woman stepped inside, dressed in sharp white armor with silver badges on her shoulder. Her eyes scanned every inch of the room like lasers. She was a compliance enforcer, cold, smart, and known for shutting down shops with a single order. "Name?" she asked. "Juno," he said, handing her a data chip. She plugged it into her wrist console and began walking slowly through the workshop. Every few steps she paused and looked at something, a half-assembled drone, a loose panel, the dusty back wall. Then her eyes landed on Lyra. The inspector raised an eyebrow. "And this?" "My assistant," Juno said flatly. "Species? Does it matter?" he replied. The inspector stepped closer to Lyra. "No visible work tag. No registered ID. This is a clear violation." Lyra looked down. Her hand shook, but before the inspector could say more, Juno calmly stepped between them. "Her name is Lyra. She is training under me. She works hard. And she's better than half your officials." The inspector narrowed her eyes. "You think you can ignore protocol?" Juno didn't flinch. "I think I can show results. That's what matters, right?" He handed her a small power core, glowing bright blue. "This was built yesterday," he said. "By her." The inspector scanned it. Her eyes widened slightly. "Efficient. Clean. No error." "She's not a mistake," Juno said. "She's the future of your broken system." A long pause. Finally, the inspector turned away. "I will file a temporary work review. You have 1 cycle to submit her paperwork. If she's not registered, your shop shuts down." She walked to the door, but then stopped and looked back at Lyra. "She may not be welcome, but she's useful," she said coldly. "Don't waste that." And then she was gone. As the door shut, Lyra collapsed onto a bench, breathing hard. "You lied for me," she said. "I don't lie," Juno replied, setting the power core back on the table. "I gave them truth they didn't want to hear. But I don't have any ID, no data, no past." Juno looked at her. "Then it's time to build your future." That evening, Lyra worked twice as hard. She rewired drone legs, recalibrated scanners, and learned how to handle fusion cells. She made mistakes, but each time Juno silently corrected her without insult. Even her son, Yell, started to play near the machines, slowly recovering with each warm meal. But just when things started to feel safe, Lyra noticed something outside. Small red dot blinked on the corner wall across the street. A hidden camera. Someone was watching the workshop. Someone who wanted proof that Lyra didn't belong here. The days on Virex 9 passed slowly, but Lyra moved faster than ever. She wasn't just working now. She was becoming someone else. Gone was the shaking, silent alien mother who begged for food. Now she stood tall beside Juno, tools in her belt, hands stained with oil, mind sharp with learning. And the machines? They started listening to her. Hook scene. First 5 minutes. It began one morning when a wealthy alien merchant stormed into the shop. "I need my security drone working now," the merchant shouted, throwing a damaged orb on the table. "And not by that filthy girl." Juno didn't flinch. He looked at Lyra. "Take it," he said. She stepped forward, met the merchant's eyes, and said calmly, "Wait outside. I'll fix it faster if you don't breathe over me." The merchant blinked in shock. So did Juno. In just 10 minutes, she repaired the damaged sensor, rerouted its threat module, and boosted its battery by 20%. The merchant stared, How did you? By not being useless, she replied. Lyra's confidence grew, not from praise, but from power. Real, earned power. She could now operate welding bots, program defense turrets, and even teach her son Yell how to wire a simple panel. Juno rarely spoke, but every time he handed her harder tasks, she felt his silent approval. One evening, she was fixing a hover platform when Juno handed her a slim metal chip. "What's this?" she asked. "Blueprint," he said. "Your first invention," she froze. "I'm not ready." "You are." She took a deep breath and began designing. A small tool that could adjust microcircuit depth without overheating. It seemed simple, but no one had done it before. When it worked the next day, Juno nodded once. "You just created something new." But the shop's rising fame brought new problems. More aliens came, not just for repairs, but to look at Lyra. Some with curiosity, others with hatred. She's too proud now. She acts like she belongs here. She needs to be reminded what she really is. One day, Lyra stepped out to get supplies. When she returned, someone had spray-painted the shop door. "Alien slave pretending to be human." She stood there silent. Juno walked up behind her, saw the writing, and simply said, "Paint's in the back." She painted over it herself, then went back to work. But that night something unexpected happened. As she tucked Yell into bed, the door buzzed. She opened it and found a delivery box with no name. Inside was a set of custom-made gloves, engineer-grade, designed for her species. She frowned. Juno looked over and said, "That's respect. Someone's watching your progress." "Or a warning," she said. Juno nodded. "Both can look the same. The difference is what you do next." The next morning, Lyra put on those gloves and worked harder than ever. She was no longer just surviving. She was building something. A future. The lights in the workshop flickered softly as evening fell. Lyra was finishing the final adjustments on a levitating cargo lift. Her hands moved fast, confident and sharp. She didn't notice the silence at first until she realized Yell hadn't spoken in hours. She turned. He lay curled on the old couch, pale, sweat dripping from his forehead. His breathing was shallow, sharp. His small arms trembled as if freezing. Lyra dropped her tools. "Yell?" She rushed to him. "Talk to me." But he didn't answer. Only a weak groan escaped his lips. Hook, first 5 minutes. She grabbed a medical scanner. The numbers made her blood run cold. His fever was rising too fast. His heart rate was unstable. She ran to Juno. "He's worse. It's not just flu, this is something else." Juno quickly scanned the data and narrowed his eyes. "He's reacting to a rare spore, found only in this district. It affects children of your species." "Is there a cure?" Lyra asked. "There's a treatment, but it's not sold in the open market." Her voice cracked. "Then where?" Juno looked at her. His face was grim. The underground exchange. Within minutes, Lyra and Juno were out in the rainy night, walking through narrow alleys filled with shadows and strange voices. Their boots splashed through puddles of glowing blue water. Behind them, robotic eyes followed silently. The underground wasn't just illegal, it was dangerous. Here, even species sold memories, limbs, or worse to survive. They reached a rusted gate. A four-eyed alien guard stepped out. "Password?" he growled. Juno didn't blink. "I'm here for Spore X84A. The child is dying." The guard laughed. "And what do you offer in return?" "No one gives out cures for free." Juno pulled out a small energy cell. "Unstable. Military grade. Trade for 1 dose." The guard's eyes widened. He waved them in. Inside, the room was dark, smoky, and full of whispers. Creatures from every corner of the galaxy bargained for secrets, machines, poisons, and hope. Lyra held her son in her arms, his breath growing weaker. Finally, a hooded figure approached with a glowing vial. "Spore X84A, he said. 1 dose, 1 price." "What price?" Juno asked. The figure pointed at Lyra. "She stays. As payment." Lyra's heart stopped. Juno stepped forward instantly. "That's not happening." "She's not for sale," he growled, but the hooded alien only laughed. "Then the child dies." For a long second, Lyra looked down at her son's pale face, her voice cracked. "Take my arm instead." Everyone turned. "I'm a worker. My right arm is skilled, valuable. Take it, give me the cure." Juno's voice rose. "Lyra, no." "But," the hooded alien smiled. "Now that's a trade worth accepting." A strange device was brought forward. Lyra knelt, kissed her son's head, and placed her arm into the machine. She closed her eyes. The machine lit up. But before the blade dropped, Juno threw the vial at her. "Catch!" She caught it mid-air. The machine shut down as he shoved the table over, pulling her out. Behind them, chaos erupted. Juno pushed through the crowd carrying Lyra as she clutched the vial close to her chest. They ran through alleys, alarms echoing behind them. Back at the workshop, Lyra carefully dropped the medicine into Yell's mouth. She held her breath. For a few long minutes, nothing happened. Then, he coughed. Once. Twice. And whispered, "Mama." Lyra burst into tears and hugged him tightly. That night, she sat in the corner, staring at the ceiling. Juno placed a blanket on her shoulders. "You were willing to lose your arm," he said. She nodded. "Because no one else will protect him. But me." Juno sat beside her quietly. "Now you're not alone in that." For the first time, she leaned against him, just a little. Lyra opened her eyes to sunlight. For the first time in years, she hadn't woken to fear. No hunger, no pain, no shouting. Only the soft sound of machines humming and her son, Yell, sleeping peacefully beside her. She stepped outside the back room of the workshop. Something felt different. The air was heavier. Too quiet. Too still. Juno stood in the center of the shop, hands folded. A black hovercraft hovered outside. A red banner with silver stars waved above it. Lyra's heart stopped. The Galactic Council was here. 4 aliens in fine robes entered the workshop. Their bodyguards scanned the room. One council member, a tall, silver-skinned female with sharp eyes, looked directly at Lyra. "You are the alien mother everyone has spoken of?" Lyra swallowed hard. "I am." The councilwoman looked around. "You have no official training, no formal ID, no education." "No," Lyra replied calmly. "Just experience. And effort." Another councilman stepped forward. "And yet, we've received dozens of reports. Your repairs outpace licensed engineers." "She built a custom power core," one counselor added. "From scrap," Juno nodded once. "She saved my machines, she saved my business, she saved her son." There was silence. Then the silver-skinned woman spoke again. "We are prepared to offer you a guild technician license and a permit for full citizenship." Lyra froze. Citizenship? A real name in the system? Her own record? A place for her son? Her voice shook. "I don't know what to say." "You earned it," the counselor replied. "Even those who were born with nothing can rise, if they refuse to stay down." As the council left, a small crowd gathered outside the workshop. Curious aliens, neighbors, even shopkeepers who once ignored or mocked her. One young alien girl whispered, "That's the one. The mother who became an engineer." Lyra stood beside Juno. "I thought this would never happen," she said. "You thought wrong," he replied, handing her a new badge. It had her name, her photo, her title, Lead Technician, Juno Repairs. That evening, a surprise visitor, came the inspector, the same one who once tried to shut her down. She held a report tablet in one hand and in the other, a small wrapped package. "Don't misunderstand," the inspector said coldly. "This isn't kindness, it's respect." She handed the gift to Yell. Inside was a learning pad filled with lessons for engineering. "Train him well," she said. "The galaxy needs more minds like yours." Lyra couldn't hold back the tears. She cried, not out of pain, but out of relief. Her journey had started with rejection, hunger, and fear. Now she had respect, skill, and a future. That night, as the city lights glowed, Lyra stood beside Juno on the rooftop. Yell played with a small drone nearby. "You never told me why you helped me," Lyra said softly. Juno looked up at the stars. "Because years ago, I was alone too. Someone gave me a chance. I decided I'd give just one chance back someday. And I was that chance?" He turned to her. "You were the best investment I ever made." She smiled, and for a quiet moment, so did he, as the eye-to-eye stars blinked in the dark sky. Lyra knew this workshop, this life, this quiet rooftop moment. It was hers now. She had found her home, not because it was given to her, but because she fought for it and won.